Clippers game 2. Remember, Dallas won game 1 behind an excellent performance from young phenom Luka Doncic. Followed that same plan last night. And while Kawhi and Paul George, they showed up, they played well. Nobody else on that Clippers team did. And Luka took advantage. Clippers lose, down 0-2, headed back to Dallas. Now here's Paul George after another loss.
We got to rise to the occasion. Fact of the matter is, if we don't, we're done for. But there's no level of concern. I mean, we just got to play our game. We got to play through this. I'm pretty sure everyone expected us to win this. So they were the underdogs. And when you're a lower seed, I mean, you really don't have high expectations. So they're playing free. They're playing with confidence. I think we're giving them a little too much confidence. So that's on us to shut that down.
All right, so 39 points for Luka, off to arguably the best start in playoff history through 8 games. Remember, this is the guy the Clippers wanted to face. With that, we say good morning to Chris Broussard. Thanks for joining us. Broussard, Clippers down 0-2. This was your team once upon a time. Is this series over? I had to get it in.
Yes, Jenna, it is over. And Brandon's Clippers, man, it feels good to say that. Brandon's Clippers are done. Finished.
They're done.
Toast. It's over. Do I need to go Kenny Smith on them? This is over, okay? And here's why. Dallas is just better. The evidence is overwhelming. I know on paper the Clippers look better, but when they get on the court and face each other, sometimes matchups make, games as well as they make fights. They're just better. Look, they've played 5 games this year. The Mavericks have won 4 of them, 3 of them by double figures. They played 5 playoffs games the last 2 years where both teams were relatively healthy. Kristaps Porzingis played for the Mavericks. Dallas won 3 of them. Last night, Kawhi, he even makes Nick's medal stand. He was incredible in the first half and good in the second half. Goes for 41. Paul George, 28 and 12. The Clippers shoot 53%, 39% from 3 at home, and they still lose. Like, the Mavericks are just better. They have the best player in the series. That's Luka Doncic. And I just don't think that the Clippers are mentally tough enough to bounce back from a 2-0 deficit. I really don't. And the fact that their defense is so poor, when you're the 8th best defense in the league during the regular season, when you've got the two best wing defenders as a tandem that we've seen in more than a decade, and you allow Dallas to shoot 59%, 52% from 3, and the way they were giving up the switch, like at the top of the key with Luka, it was like nobody wanted Luka. Because it wasn't like Dallas was setting these stout picks every time down. The Clippers were just willingly switching and getting a worse player on Luka. And so they're done. This is their 5th straight playoff loss. Again, I just don't think they can bounce back. The only question now is, will they get swept? Because, Brandon, they're toast.
Listen, first off, it's not over. If anybody can overcome an 0-2 deficit, it's the Clippers when you look at the matchups. Everything you just said. Kawhi was phenomenal. Paul George broke through this whole playoff P deal. So when you think about this team and how they're built, the thing that you got to look at is the others. You got to look at the supporting cast. They didn't show up. Where was Pat Beverly? Where was Reggie Jackson? Where were those guys? Where was Marcus Morris? Like, they didn't show up. And so that was the difference in that game. That was the difference in game 1. When you look at Dallas, Luka, phenomenal, like sensational. Dude has ice in his veins. You talk about Mamba mentality. He has it all. But then you look at the others. You look at, his supporting cast. Everybody's hitting. I mean, who do you want him to guard? When you talk about defense and defense philosophy, everybody is on fire on that team. Tim Hardaway, you know, D. Smith, the first game. You know, I mean, come on, man. So if there is any team, you know, with a matchup like this that can overcome an 0-2 deficit, it is definitely the Clippers.
Yeah, I think the exact opposite. I think of every team in the league, they are the least likely because they don't look interested in competing. The reason everyone is NBA Jam on fire is because they're all wide open shots. Brandon, I know at House of Athlete, you've had plenty of NBA guys come through in the offseason. And you know what's amazing about watching literally any NBA player just shoot around? They never miss. Never miss. Right. It doesn't matter who it is. They are all 98% unguarded. Well, guess what? The Clippers are going with the very revolutionary strategy of not guarding. So everyone's going to hit. And you know why Broussard, the Clippers supporting cast, is not playing well? Because their supporting cast stinks. And it has stunk for 2 years. And last year I told you guys this is a bad roster, and people called me a hater. This year I told you it's a bad roster. People said I'm out of my mind. Reggie Jackson's never been good in the playoffs. Marcus Morris has never been good in the playoffs. Serge Ibaka has been good in the playoffs. He's not playing. You've got an undersized offensive liability defensive point guard. You've got a slow-footed defensive liability center. You've got Nick Batum, who you got for the minimum because he was so bad last year in your crunch time 5. You got Rondo, who the Hawks couldn't wait to give away, supposed to be the saving grace. The team's not very good. The front office done a terrible job. On the bright side, yeah, I did. That is correct, Jenna. I did pick them to lose because I thought that I picked the Clippers to win this series. That's absolutely right. I picked the Mavs to lose. That's correct. But I never bought into the idea that this team was anything close to a championship contender. And what they are dealing with all of that, Wilds, is also the makings of a guy who is going to go down at worst as one of the 10 greatest players ever in Luka. And when you run into one of those guys, it's like, oh man, we better have it buttoned up. And they don't. They opted for this matchup instead of playing the Blazers, who they're 6-0 against the last 2 years, and now they're getting their heads handed to them, and people are going to get fired, and guys are going to be traded, and the series is over. The era never started, and you know the battle for LA is as one-sided as Alabama Citadel is every year.
Gee, throw the Alabama Citadel thing out there. Wasn't expecting that one. I got to look up my Citadel references, see how they're stacking up this year. Broussard, I blame you for some of this because we have a nice balance of personalities on the show. And you come on the show and you say, oh, young analyst, Nick Wright, I'm a seasoned veteran, and I think with my head, not my heart. And you convinced poor Nick Wright, who just did a long rant on how much he hates the Clippers, to root against his own son. So now he's kind of stuck in this odd bind where he picked the Clippers, but he's also rooting for his son, and that is your fault, my friend. So you also picked the Clippers to win. So I'm just going to try to be a little bit optimistic, since our two, genius basketball analysts did pick the Clippers to win. There's only 4 teams in the history of basketball that have come down from 2-0. It was the 17 Celtics, the 05 Mavs, the 94 Rockets, and the 69 Lakers, 2-0 at home. Do you see a way that the Clippers can add themselves to that list? And I will give you a hint. Maybe playoff Rondo comes out of his shell and emerges and delivers the Clippers a victory, because that's what they need. They need that sort of extra oomph. But the fact that he's yelling at guys and or coaches seems like it's trending in the wrong direction.
Wiles, I don't. I simply don't. Now, I could see a way they could make this thing a series. I think they'll probably lose in 5. But I could see them making this a series. I wouldn't be shocked by that. But I meant it when I said I don't think they're mentally tough enough to come back from this. Their clutch time numbers show that that's a mental weakness. They've been outscored 20-2 in clutch time during this series. That shows you that during the meat of the game, they're right there with the Mavericks, if not outscoring them. But when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, they don't get it done. Now, Rondo, I'll give you that. Obviously he didn't play during the clutch last night, but he could help them in that. And if I'm Ty Lue, I'm playing Rondo down the stretch. Just be even.